Good morning to everybody. How's everybody doing? I hope you're all doing well, all still alive and kicking. Well, it is Tuesday the 22nd. Addiction with Days, part 36. And it's so far a coolish morning. Yesterday morning, what's the time now? It's 8:26. Yesterday morning, by this time, it was 41. So, yeah, let's go see what the temperature is today. Beautifully park. Grass is nice and green. Right, temperature is 32 today. So a lot cooler today. And yeah, been quite busy so far this week concerning like my diabetes and that. Um, because I'm still pretty new with diabetes, right? I was diagnosed, yeah, about 2 years ago. Yeah, diabetes. And I've been figuring out, because I just look at food and my sugar goes up. So yeah, so I've been looking for stuff, and one of the stuff I found, okay, so small potatoes, baby potatoes, and sweet potatoes you need to eat instead of big potatoes. Anyway, so came across a thing that said drink black tea, and it reduces your sugar levels. So my brain says to me, black tea is tea without milk. Tea without milk. No, it's not. It actually says on the box black tea. So yeah, so that helps. It drops it, not by a significant amount, but it does drop it. Then, if I came across something else, it was pumpkin seed, pumpkin seed, and then something else which is called flaxseed. I don't know if you camera can pick that up. It's quite funny. Flaxseed, aka linseed. It's got a real weird taste to it. So this mixture apparently drops your sugar by 35%. And I will say that it does help. It does work. So yeah. So for the first time in a long time, my sugar levels have been below the 10 mark, I've been hitting 8.7s. I know that's still high, but mine was up. Up. Even with insulin and I always forget the tablets now. Glucophage, that one. So yeah, so been good. It's working there. Getting more exercise. My lungs are screwed. Um, so exercise kind of half kills me. But anyway, enough about me. Right, peoples. Let us get into today's reading. Please remember, I am not a part of AA, NA, um, any of those groups. I just love to use the material that they have, especially that just for today, daily meditation. Cafe Mocha. Good coffee first thing in the morning. Oh, yeah. Right, so February the 22nd, God's will or mine? I suppose I should put my glasses on there. Okay, oh, that's much better. I can see clearly now. All right. We continued to take inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Step 10, right. In Narcotics Anonymous, we found that the more we live in harmony with our higher power's will for us, the greater the harmony in our lives. We use the 10th step to help us maintain that harmony on a daily basis. We take time to look at our behavior. Some of us measure each action with a very simple question: God's will or mine? In many cases, we find that our actions have been in tune with our higher power's will for us, and we in turn have been in tune with the world around us. In some cases, however, we will discover inconsistencies between our behavior and our values. We've been acting on our own will, not God's, and the result has been dissonance in our lives. It's been a great word. Anyway, when we discover such inconsistencies, we admit we've been wrong and take corrective actions. With greater awareness of what we believe God's will for us to be in such situations, we are more likely to live a greater concord with our higher power's will for us and with the world around us. Just for today, I wish to live in harmony with my world. Today, I will examine my actions, asking God's will or mine. So yeah, God's will or mine. So let's just say, God's will or mine. I mean, our active addiction, it was always mine, 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 my will, my will, my will. I'll do it this way, I'll do it that way. Um, and, coming into recovery, you got to learn that, you know, it's like the story I tell people. It's like, you couldn't tell me anything when I was inactive. No one could tell me a damn thing. I knew it all. Arrogant, very arrogant. And, coming into recovery, got to learn that, you know, especially when you with your higher power, is that you got to learn that your fleshly desires is not God's will or your higher power's will, right? So you got to start, like it says, asking yourself, God's will, not mine. What does it say at the end here? God's will or mine, right? Your will is part of your flesh. Okay. The flesh side of us, we all drink, parties, drugs, sex, gambling. Okay? The flesh side of us wants everything and anything. Our flesh tries to rule us. God's will. We will never be perfect. Okay, so going into recovery, just remember that you're never going to be perfect. It is impossible for you to be perfect. It's impossible for me to be perfect. There was only one perfect person, and this is my higher power I'm talking about. There was only one perfect person, and his name was Jesus. And even then, he had his faults. I mean, he walked into the tabernacle and started throwing tables around and you know. So he had his faults too. It goes to show you that no one is perfect. Because remember, even though Jesus was the Son of God, he was still made of flesh. So he was still not perfect. Like I said, he had his doubts. He had his misgivings. Okay? Before he was arrested by the Romans too, he was doubting his father's choice of not talking to him. Right? But he had faith. And he stuck by it. God's will. God's will, not mine. God's will. Have faith. Stick to it. All right. And it was at peace now. So in Narcotics Anonymous, we found that the more we live in harmony with our higher power's will for us, the greater the harmony in our lives. Okay? It's like I've said that when I was in that very last rehab that I was in, Steenbok Bun, Center of Hope. Check them out. Speak to Dani or Tannie Sarita. They're doing praise and worship evenings. You can book and go and stay there, you know, for a weekend or whatever. Anyway, besides the point. That the more we lived in harmony with our higher power's will for us, the greater the harmony in our lives. Right. It's like I have told people that when I was in my last rehab, I was living by the flesh. I was living by my will. And all of you that are listening to this can also, how can I say, relate. Because when you were inactive, or still inactive, who knows? I don't know who's watching. But when I was inactive, I was living by my will, not my higher power's will. I was living by my will. I will do it my way. It's my way or the highway. And, you know, 20 something years of active addiction, you know, doing it my way got me no way. All right. So God's will, sitting outside that bungalow in rehab and surrendering to my higher power and saying, right, your will, not mine. Take the steering wheel, your turn to drive. And once I started doing it God's will, living in God's will, not my will, my life changed drastically. Drastically. Not saying that my life got any easier. Life still carries on, people. But the way I faced life became so much easier because I was doing it God's will, not my will. Life doesn't become easier just because you have become sober. Just remember that. The devil's still out there, still tempting. He will tempt you till the day you die. I mean, you put on the TV, you watch a movie nowadays. Drugs, drink, sex, gambling. It's tempting. Music. Remember, Satan was God's musical angel. I lost my plot now. Yes, the world out there is still Satan's will. Because everything out there is meant to tempt you. You drive down the road, signboards on the telephone poles and stuff, advertising alcohol. Like I said, TV series, movies, TV programs, alcohol, drugs, blah blah blah. Songs, listen to songs, especially R&B and stuff like that. There's a lot of swearing in them, and you know, cap cap your ass and shit, and drugs and all sorts of crap that they sing about. Not just nailing on them, right? But a lot of music, a lot of music. And like I said, Satan was God's musical. Should play the like a tune for God. All right. So how does he get you? Right, through what he knows, music. So God's will, not mine. Let's read that piece again. When continue to take inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admit it. That's God's will. Okay. Continuing to take personal inventory of yourself. Right, you learn this most in rehab. Okay. Keeping a journal. All right. Writing down everything that's happened in your day, everything that went wrong, went well, went whatever. Okay. And keeping a journal, self inventory. Check in with your sponsor. Check in with your oh crap, I forgot the word I'm looking for. Accountability partner. Okay. Staying in touch with them. Checking in with them regularly. Bam, bam. Alright. And when you were wrong, promptly admit it. Remember, a life of addiction, okay, was filled with lies, scams, conning people, okay, just a whole lot of just nonsense. I mean, come on, let's be honest here. So when you do something wrong or something has happened, okay, don't hide it, because that is old behavior. Okay, talk about it, bring it up, speak about it immediately. Something an example that I like to use occasionally when I'm counseling and stuff like that is, it's a stupid example, but it's relevant. Before diabetes and all this crap, I love, still do, but can't have it. Condensed milk. Okay, it's not condensed milk. My mother used to buy condensed milk when she makes fudge and stuff like that. And I would always steal the tins of condensed milk. And whenever she used to now she wants to make fudge, she opens a cupboard, condensed milk. God, there's one. Did you take the condensed milk? No more. Wasn't me, I promise. Coming into recovery, same thing. That day I was like, no, condensed milk. Grabbed it. I was a couple of months sober. And my mom wanted to make fudge and called me and said, did you take the condensed milk? I said, no, Mom. Turned around, I was walking away. I turned around, I came straight back again. I said, yes, Mom, I did. I did take the condensed milk. So, stupid, but relevant. Right? When you are wrong, promptly, not tomorrowly, next weekly, promptly admit you are wrong. Another example, the first rehab where I got the chance to work at and start doing counseling, finding out that this was the calling that God had for me. And during committee the one morning, I gave the one resident consequences. All the evidence pointed to him that he was at fault, so gave him the consequence. He strongly said he didn't do it, but we all know addicts lie through their teeth. So, I didn't give him the benefit of the doubt. After committee, just before we started our first group for the day, one of the other guys came up to me and said to me, listen, so and so is telling the truth. He didn't do it. It was, you know, John Doe over there. So I felt bad the way that I, handled it. And so when we went into our first group, you know, practice what you preach, especially if you're a counselor in addiction. You've got to practice what you preach. Okay? I can't tell people in counseling, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do that, you got to stop drinking, you got to stop this, and then on the weekends I sit and have a beer with a bride. No. So practice what you preach. Want to be counselors and counselors, if they're listening to this? Big, big point. Practice what you preach. And went up, stood in front of the class, and I apologized. And it was the first time ever that I did that. It was nerve-wracking as hell. It definitely wasn't my last time apologizing to, groups and stuff like that. So we learn, we move on. Okay, God's will, not mine. My will would have been, just let it go, just carry on with the day. Right, God's will, make amends. When you are wrong, promptly admit it. So, people, if you are going to live by the flesh, you are going to die by the flesh. Alright? Sin is all around us. It's just one of those things. Okay? Going into recovery, fresh in recovery, wherever you are in recovery, wanting to come into recovery, you need to know, okay, just because you are changing, the world doesn't change. The world is still a cesspool of evil. Right? You have to change. And you have to do it with your higher power by your side. Not behind you, not in front of you, by your side. Right? People, love you. Have a wonderful day. It is Tuesday morning. Yes, it is. And, check your owns, but I'll catch you on the flip side.